This season, one of my goals was to introduce myself by introducing you all to some folks that have had a big impact on me. Today, we'll do that with a few folks that I hang out with every year at the Terlingua Chili Cook-Off out in West Texas. So why don't you hop in and travel with me? My name is JB Sauceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter. The Texas Hill Country, located on the Edwards Plateau, is home to more deer than any other region in all of Texas. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department estimates that around 1.5 million deer live on the plateau. This makes Uvalde County, on the southern edge of the plateau, an incredibly popular destination for hunting, something David Wilkinson, the line director of wild game at the Uvalde Meat Market, knows well.
We get them from a pretty wide region. The area is pretty vast. There's not a lot of processors, so we collect people from all over the country, all over Texas, all over the world, really.
Though the deer population has shrunk as much as 25% in recent seasons due to drought, it still has the highest density of whitetail deer in the state. More than 700,000 Texans hunt for whitetail each year. That means there's a lot of meat to process.
Yeah, in a season, we approximately get anywhere from 3,500 to 6,000 deer. This year has been a little slow with the drought and the heat. We're hoping it'll pick up.
They don't just process deer. This is Texas after all. They also process quite a lot of beef and have recently opened an old school mercantile type butcher counter in addition to shipping gift boxes across the country.
We'll probably ship close to 1,000 gift boxes during the holiday season, and then we'll ship all the deer processing and wild game as well.
This isn't the Uvalde Meat Market's first deer season. It's been a fixture of the Uvalde community since 1940.
We've had customers that have come in here since they were 5, 6 years old. Both of our lead butchers, one of them's been here for going on 24 years, the other one's probably 18 years, so there's some long-lived employees that have been with the company for a long time.
One type of game that wasn't as widespread back when Uvalde Meat Market first opened its doors in the 40s is the exotic variety. But now the market can handle any type of game hunters bring in. They've processed animals as diverse as alligators and giraffes.
It's cheaper to hunt in Africa on some species than it is to hunt them in Texas. They're controlled environments, they're fed, they're bred, and there's every species you can imagine.
David has been around hunting his entire life, but he had a few careers before he came to work at Uvalde Meat Market. He'd been retired for a while when his daughter prodded him to get working again.
I guess I'd kind of gone to seed a little bit, and she was like, hey, you're better off when you're active and moving. So I took it well. It was encouraging. I'd been just kind of living a bachelor life and out in the middle of the mountains without anything to do. So she kind of sized that up and said, hey, go to work.
The work at the meat market is more than just taxidermy, butchering, and management duties. It's the center of the community, the small town of Uvalde. And no matter who's coming through the market on any given day, David gets to be a part of the memories they make.
That's one of my favorite things working here is meeting the people that come in and the young people. You meet kids shooting their first animal, and it's quite an accomplishment for them, and you can see them coming. I mean, they're beaming from ear to ear. I had a couple yesterday that came in, 2 boys, and they were probably 7, 8 years old, just shot their first buck. It was quite the moment. I think it was more for the dad than it was the 2 boys. But it's a hand-down thing, hunting. I mean, father to son, daughter.
we say any day that you're outstanding in the water is an outstanding day. So it doesn't matter where it is. It doesn't matter where it is.
A Houston bayou tucked beside an old 7-Eleven isn't exactly the place you would expect to find an award-winning fly fisherman casting. Yet, amid the rush of cars speeding home from their 9-to-5 grind, Mark Marmon finds tranquility in the murky runoff waters of this surprisingly calm urban oasis.
The idea of fishing in an urban area, why people are now starting to do it versus before, it's convenient. You know, if we lived in Durango, we got brown trout coming through downtown. If you lived in Gunnison, you got the Gunnison River coming through town. People don't think anything of it there, but here, like in Miami, on the Miami Trail, they go for snook and tarpon all day long. They even have a Bass Pro tournament at Disney World in Orlando. Now that's urban, and they got big fish. So it's the convenience of it. It's being able to get to that water quickly. And there's fish here.
For the past 22 years, Mark Marmon has refined his expertise by pioneering urban fly fishing opportunities throughout the Houston area, inspiring anglers across Texas to cast in places they'd least expect. Along the way, he set an International Game Fish Association world record and earned 9 Texas state fly fishing and water body records. But for Mark, these awards and accolades pale in comparison to the fulfillment he finds in educating anglers about their impact on the environment.
Well, in any fly fishing that I teach, whether it's instruction or taking people fishing or being with people in saltwater or whatever, if I can convince them to fly fish only, they become a better environmentalist. It's very important. I find it's more important because it's catch and release. Lee Wolf had a saying that's been duplicated thousands and thousands of times. The fish I catch today and sacrifice is one you can't catch tomorrow. So the idea is to catch and release so that somebody else could. Whether or not we make a difference in numbers on fish, I don't know. But the fact that I could catch it, get a nice picture and let it go, and then someone else can catch it later.
For Mark, fly fishing is as much about the conservation as it is about the catch. The true reward lies not just in landing fish, but ensuring that the sport will continue to be cherished. By teaching anglers to respect both the waters and the wildlife they reel in, Mark Marmon helps preserve the soul of fly fishing for generations to come.
He was chasing.
Easy now.
You got him?
Yeah, I got him. Nice one.
Oh yeah.
Nice one. Oh no, you're supposed to fly fish in Colorado, Montana. I said, well, you know, I have parents now who approach me at camps. They don't know how to conventional fish. And they'll call me and hire me to teach them how to conventional fish because they don't understand how a rod and reel works. They don't understand the terminal tackle, the weight and the hook, and why you use a hook this big instead of this big. You know, I found one of the spots we were going to go today, I found a circle hook this big on the concrete. There's no way they're going to catch any fish with a hook that big. So I tried.
It's pokey out here. There's cactus, lechuguilla, whatever. If you fall down a hill out here, you're gonna get hurt. But the stars, the moon, depending on the year, it's really just incredible to be out here and you feel kind of more connected to the universe. The combination of all of that, and as I mentioned earlier, the camaraderie with the, you know, being at a pseudo family reunion, I mean, you get connected.
It's often said that Terlingua is the type of place that people flee to when they're trying to escape something. Yet, every year, as the first weekend in November arrives, thousands flock to this ghost town, not to run away, but to gather in celebration of the state dish of Texas, the annual Tolbert Chili Cook-Off.
It's spiritual for me at this point, just being out here and with friends and family and the community that, it's kind of chili church,
Patrick Ryan has been making the trek out to Terlingua ever since he could take his first steps. As the grandson of one of the founders, being amongst family here has a different meaning to him. Alongside his parents, Paul and Kathleen, Patrick has spent most of his life honoring and carrying forward his grandfather's legacy.
The first cook-off was between H. Allen Smith and Wick Fowler, and they were two journalists. H. Allen Smith was from New York, Wick Fowler was from Texas, and they wanted to have a chili cook-off competition, and they declared it a tie so they could do the publicity stunt the next year again, and then we've just kept it going.
Much like Patrick, the flocks of friends that gather out here in the desert understand the weight of tradition. Because of this, being a chili chef is something these folks take with utmost sincerity. Though their recipes may look simple, the battle to stand before the judges is anything but.
So how does somebody qualify to cook out here?
They can cook during cook-offs around the state leading up to the first weekend of November here. If they win certain cook-offs, you can qualify. If you place in certain cook-offs and get enough points, you can earn enough points to cook here. You can also cook the day before on Friday at Last Chance, which is what I kind of spearhead out here, is the Last Chance cook-off. It has to have the right aroma, the right consistency, tastes and aftertastes. And yeah, it's double blind, so everyone at a table will judge a handful of chilies and they'll take the best ones off that table. They'll go to the next round until you get to the final table and you name the winner.
For the last 6 decades, the Tolbert Chili Cook-Off has drawn in the finest chili cooks from across the state, each eager to showcase their craft. But in recent decades, the cook-off has come to embody more than just the art of chili. Whether you find yourself among groups like Cowboy Camp or just happen to be a vagabond, everybody here is family, all gathered for a greater cause.
When you run into people and you're trying to describe the cook-off, how do you describe it? How do you tell people what it is?
Well, I like to say what we've come up with lately, that is a party with a purpose. The real reason that it all started really wasn't chili. I mean, that was a vehicle, that was a means to come out to the desert. The main reason that people came back was to have fun. I think that's still a reason, but I think now, in addition to cooking chili, having fun, there's a cause, and the cause is to find a cure for ALS. We have no cure, but we're getting closer to that.
Tom Nall has been making his pilgrimage to the cook-off for decades. Having worked with Wick Fowler, one of the founding fathers of the event, Tom holds a deep personal connection to its roots. But beyond the simmering pots and spirited competition, it's the charity he's been able to rally for that's truly holding a place in his heart.
I'd worked for Wick Fowler Two Alarm Chili for 32 years, and Wick Fowler died of ALS. And so that just came to mind, let's do ALS. From that point on, we started having dinners, and we'd just collect money for camp and give that to ALS. And then after doing that for about 3 years, I talked to Paul and Kathleen and said, who really are the directors of the cook-off. And we had, the cook-off had charities. It had EMS and Terlingua School. And I said, why don't we get bigger in our charitable giving, and let's go for ALS.
For the last 20 years, Cowboy Camp has been donating money collected during their famous Friday night dinners to ALS research, garnering over 7 figures since the tradition began. Along the way, ALS patients have visited the campsite, lending their voices to further raise awareness for the incurable disease.
I was told about Juan, that he had done a radio interview, and he was quite a character. And I called him and invited him to Terlingua. And I said, well, we're going to have you on stage. We won't introduce you. We want you to tell your story. And he said, I will. And this will be the 6th year that Juan's been here. And that's amazing.
ALS, with all the fancy words and scientific jargon, in a nutshell, is a horrible disease that kills the nerves in the body that control muscle movement. And a lot of people don't realize that there are many more than just the muscles that move your arms and legs. The breathing is affected because the diaphragm begins to die. It is a muscle, and when it dies, you can't breathe. You also lose the ability to swallow and speak. So it's a very isolating disease. So when you can latch on the individuals that just make you feel alive, you can't resist but hanging on for dear life, because it's just so life affirming.
Juan Reyes is one of the ALS patients who returns each year to share his story. Since 2018, he and his wife Meg have become beloved members of the Cowboy Camp family, eagerly anticipating their reunion out in the desert year after year.
They're like my family. I really do feel that way, and I'm not exaggerating. They are like family to us. And they've embraced and they've given and they've loved on us, and it's mutual. There's negative things that happen, but you always have to look at your blessings. What do you have versus what you don't? So when you stop and think, you know, you have a disease that could be terminal, well, we're all gonna die at some day, right? And so how you deal with that, how you work it, how do you find ways to make your life better, that's what we look at.
Though Meg and Juan have a million blessings to count, one of the greatest has been Juan's unwavering strength in his fight against ALS. With nearly a decade since his diagnosis, he clings on to the hope that one day he might see a cure. A hope shared by every ALS patient dreaming of that long-awaited day.
Like, we were at a gala and one guy said his dream, I'm gonna get emotional on this one, his dream is to wake up and somebody call him and say, we did it. And he's gonna break open this bottle of scotch that he has and toast it. And I think every ALS patient wants that. I think everybody wants life. And for me, it's hard, because Juan and I have been together since we were 16. We've been married 35 years. And the other day we had a long chat about what's life gonna be like in the future. Our kids laugh because they're like, we're gonna miss Dad's wheelchair, hearing the click, click, click around and stuff. And I know that, I know reality is that, but I'm grateful, as hard sometimes as it is. We both are grateful we have the time that we're able to be here and be present, because there's not a lot of people that get to say that and do the things that they can. So.
In Terlingua, on a rough patch of desert land, chili becomes more than just a dish. It becomes a vessel for connection. Though the trek here is long and tiring, in the end, the journey is always worth the effort, because the annual Chili Cook-Off is far more than an opportunity to savor the state's beloved dish. It is a sacred gathering where family, friends, and strangers alike come together to share the warmth of connection. A celebration of the fleeting moments we have, not just with one another, but in this life.
That I have personally never felt so strong in my life. And I'm an Air Force veteran. And so my brothers and sisters in the armed forces are like family. But this family in the desert doesn't even come close. It is just amazing. when we arrived at the cook-off 2 days ago, I think Meg put it perfectly. Just, I feel like I'm coming home.
As it turns out, sometimes the best way to help someone in need is to throw a little party and make sure that person's included. We've always said that the Terlingua Chili Cook-Off is a party with a purpose, and well, the purpose of this show is to highlight the incredible things happening around Texas like that Chili Cook-Off. So I look forward to next week when we continue on this journey down the back roads of Texas. My name is JB Sauceda, and this is Texas Country Reporter.